Hello everyone, this is Daniel Hasulyo and I'm tuning in from Phuket, Thailand, the boat house, a beautiful place in Kata Beach, and today we're going to do a paddle class talking about paddles, shafts, why is it important, why I feel that a paddle is just as important as a good board, and all the little secrets and tips that I can give you as a person. So tune in, this is going to be roughly an hour of a live session. If you have any questions, please leave a comment below. Hey Pete Jackson, I'm happy to see you. And yeah, like if you have any questions regarding pedals, shafts, different constructions, different shapes, anything that regards our line, let me know and I will be happy to explain you. On the other hand, from my perspective, I will be explaining to you some pretty interesting differences between shaft stiffnesses. Because as you know, with Starboard we have created very different shaft stiffnesses, and I think it's important to highlight the different important parts of why a pedal has to be of a different stiffness in case to fit best your kind of performance. But before all of this, it's nice to be on the video again, you know, like this has been a very tricky year for everybody and especially the previous one too. And in these past times you have been probably seeing a little bit less of us as athletes compared to the previous years, because we are obviously not competing that much and not traveling around. And although I will really miss it, I have been talking with Michael, with Connor, with my brother, with different athletes from around the world, and we do miss traveling, we do miss being out there. But for the meantime, what we can do is train really hard and be more involved in the local scenes. In general, for me, 2020 was a very good year. My daughter Jasmine was born, and with Sai we have spent almost 10 months in Bali, so we had a really good 2020, focusing on family, recharging, and just training a lot to be fit and to be able to compete as soon as we can. And then around November we managed to fly back to Thailand, and since November 2020 we have been in Thailand, and I haven't really traveled anywhere else except the country itself. Why this is important? Because over the past months, actually since last August, I started to work as the national coach of the Thai stand-up paddling team in preparation for the first Asian Beach Games that was supposed to happen last year. Then the competition didn't happen, but in the meantime we kept on training really hard. And this is important because I had the chance to not only from the really beginning a couple of years ago witness the beautiful growth of stand-up paddling here in Thailand, but now in first hand I'm able to give an extra push to the community and help them to become better paddlers and create athletes that internationally are able to go out and compete. So hopefully this is going to be a project that keeps going on, and I have seen and witnessed amazing improvements that I'm going to talk to you about very soon. So yeah, like for this year at the beginning I have been focusing a lot on training, on being a daddy and learning how to actually live life with a bigger family, and then coaching the Thai national team, besides following my own training set by Strength and Endurance Performance Academy, so SEPA, the same academy that has been preparing Bruno and myself over the last 6 years. And even now, even with a little bit less training obviously, but we have been really focusing on a very rigorous training regime to be able to compete as soon as we can in any kind of world competitions. It's good to see people tuning in from Kuala Lumpur, from Australia, from Hungary. I see my grandma. Hello grandma, good to see you. I hope that you're enjoying this beautiful view. Definitely here in Phuket the weather is beautiful, and it's been a bit of a transition season right now, because usually at the end of April you have the coming of the rainy season and more monsoons, but this year this has arrived a little bit earlier. So already on the first week of April we actually had some swell and some pretty strong winds, so that was very fun last week. So once again, soon we are going to go up and talk about the pedals, but for now I would like to explain a little bit more. Hello Frederick from Mallorca. I will come to your question later on and explain a little bit about the different pedals. But to have an idea of what has been going on here in Thailand over the last months, You know, last week we have held a 5-day event, which was the first Thai national championship organized by the Thai Surfing Federation. And I was lucky enough to be present as a professional athlete, as a team coach for national team of Thailand, and also as a race director. And we had over 5 days, more than 100 people paddling in different categories, fighting in flat water, fighting in the ocean, really throwing themselves in conditions that were not used before. And in 5 days we had a very technical course where we went around an M-shaped course in the ocean, and then we went straight into a lagoon with an 80-meter running crossing from the water to the lake, and then different loops of perfect glassy flat water. And the combination of these two elements of the lake and of the ocean really brought amazing action for 5 days. And at the end of it, we crowned national champions for the first time in Thailand, and both in men and women's side, our national team athletes have won. Actually, in the men's side, it was a top 3, and in women's, first and third. So big congratulations for the national team, and to everyone who has actually participated last week at Angsana Laguna Phuket to the Thai Sub-National Championship 2021. Going back to what we're doing right now, we're gonna go and talk about different aspects of paddles, paddle techniques, constructions, different blades, shafts, stiffnesses, and everything that we as Starboard have to offer to you about the paddles. I think this is a special live because there has not really been before too many talks, open talks about the importance of the paddle itself, and I feel that it's a very important tool. It's one of those things where, like, if you need to go paddleboarding, you know that for stand-up paddling you need a board, you need a leash, you need a fin, and you need a pedal. Without the pedal you cannot paddle, and that's how it is. So for me, since day one, the paddle was extremely important, and there was a very big transition over the last 15 years of different paddles, paddle techniques, paddle shapes, shafts that have worked. You could see curved shaft, paddles with holes, paddles on both sides coming from kayaking, very long paddles, very short paddles, all sorts of paddles. Like, it has been a very entertaining scenery to see how paddling has actually evolved and how the paddle itself became an essential part of the activity itself. At Starboard, we offer 2 different kind of shapes. One is a Lima, more focused on race and performance, and the other one is the Enduro, more of an all-rounder, surfing and a travel companion for all sorts of condition. So yeah, like, I will go deeper in the details of the differences between the Lima and the Enduro to give you a better idea. I feel that the paddle itself has been a really important part of my life because you use it every time. You have to lift it every time, you have to touch it every time, you have to stroke the water every time. So a good or a bad paddle can really affect the way of your stand-up paddling and your experience overall. A too long paddle might cause you some shoulder pain, a too short paddle might cause you a lower back pain. So it's really important to be able to set it right. In general, also the questions about paddle heights and the positioning of your hands on the paddle are quite complicated, and it's always a big question mark. And I think that in general we can say that as long as you put your paddle in the air, and in general you have a nice 90 degrees angle among your arms, you have more or less the right positioning for your stroke. It could be a little bit shorter, it could be a little bit longer depending on your arms and on your physique, but in general that's a pretty good golden standard. In terms of height, and this is something that I would like to go into as a topic and then discuss very quickly, and then later on we will start to talk about paddle stiffnesses. But the height was one of those things that emerged also in many people's questions, so I would like to talk about it a little bit. In general, when we started paddling, for example, with Bruno in 2011, So that was 10 years ago. We paddled 3,000 kilometers, no, 2,000 kilometers in 39 days. We paddled across the entire length of the Danube. Back in time, my dad followed us as well, and this was a world record. If you look at the videos now of 10 years ago, our paddles were 40 centimeters above our heads. They were extremely long, and we were taking big, heavy strokes and very long strokes every time that we paddled. Was this wrong? No, it wasn't wrong. It brought us from one place to the other. But now we know that with a better paddle technique and a better paddle length, we could have been more efficient at the time as well. In general, if you want to have a very short and very easy paddle boarding, for example, and you don't want to bend your back too much, then definitely your paddle should be a little bit longer. But if you actually want to paddle and race with your paddle board, then you might need to fine-tune a little bit more your equipment. So I would explain you a few different scenarios and what would be my tip in those scenarios, your best paddle option. I always feel that if I go to paddle with my girlfriend and my dog, now also my baby, or just some friends around in calm water conditions, I personally don't like to paddle with a too short paddle or even with my race paddle. So I like to go usually a good full shaka or a little bit even more above my head in a way that I can keep a nice upright position when I go for the stroke, and I don't have to bend too much forward to express too much power. This is valid in the case when you don't need to go too fast. So I feel that if you're just cruising out with your friends, if you want to have a nice sunset paddle with your girlfriend, or if you want to explore some woods or different areas from a paddleboard, and you don't really need to express too much power, you just need to move from A to B, then a longer paddle might be the best option, because you just don't need to bend that much forward, because everything can be controlled by your hands. Always remember, if the paddle is longer than what you can actually take out from the water, then it will really create an uncomfortable paddle stroke. You will still go forward, but it will be not the best. So this was for the easy paddling. Getting into racing, I have a very different approach. Obviously, you need a lot of power, you need a lot of stability, you need a lot of focus on the right movements and on the right parts of your body that needs to be tensing to express the most efficient power transition when you touch the water. In general, I like to set my paddle length for racing about a full fist above my head. This has been working really well for me in pretty much all conditions. As you know, I'm not a big sprinter. I prefer to paddle long distance and technical races, while other paddlers might prefer to do sprinting, and I will get onto that as well. But in general, I felt that when I cut my paddle just at the height of my head, then on a longer distance, I definitely started to feel my back moving a lot more, because I could express a lot more movement. So lately, over the last 3 years, I figured that if I have a more correct and upright position on my paddle, I will explain it here as well, just coming into it. So yeah, it really helped me to have a lot more power in every single stroke. So usually now when I go for a long distance paddling or technical race, and most of my paddles are cut at a similar weight, anywhere between one fist and a little bit, depending on the board as well. As you know, we have flat deck boards and dugout boards, and this is something that has been also a question for many people. I do change the length of my paddle depending if I'm paddling a flat deck or a dugout and how far I stand from the water, just to make sure that my shoulders are getting the right pressure at the right position. This is something very personal though, so each of you should go out and have a paddle that's adjustable to be able to set the right height before you actually buy a carbon paddle and cut and fix your shaft to the right dimension. This is something very important, and here I'm starting to talk about some of the technologies. I do believe that there is nothing better than a carbon paddle. The weight of the paddle is essentially important. You're going to be lifting that paddle thousands of times, over and over again. If the paddle is heavy, if it doesn't have the right shape, if it doesn't fit you in the best way possible, then you have to repeat that same movement a lot of times, and always think at the back of your hand, why why I got distracted for a second here. But yeah, like a carbon pedal is something that would change your life. You want to have a carbon pedal because it's light, it's stiff, it has the right stiffness for you, and we actually create the different stiffnesses to fit your best use. So I feel that if you want to have a good experience, get yourself a carbon pedal. If you don't want to have a carbon pedal, we still have different options available that are really good. For example, in Tiki or different hybrid constructions that can really give you a good experience as well. So we talked about the case when you are paddling, cruising, where you don't mind to have a little bit taller pedal. We talked about distance racing and technical racing, where I do feel that I have the best control if I put a little bit more than a fist above my head. And when it comes to surfing and sprinting, I will almost use the same pedal because I like to have that kind of control. I like to be my surf pedal and my sprint pedal to be at the same height or a little bit lower than my head itself. Than the top of my head. So I'm 179, so my sprint and surf pedal would be somewhere between 176 and 179 itself. I think that those 3 centimeters, especially in the wave, it doesn't change much. If you're sprinting and you're a serious sprinter, you might want to pay a lot of attention on how exactly you got your pedal. But I think going too tall for sprinting is definitely not a good idea, because you can have a lot faster frequency and a lot more power staying a little bit closer to the water. While obviously when you're doing distance paddling, you have a bit more time for every stroke. You're a little bit more in an upright position, and you have to make sure that your lungs are in a correct position to be able to repeat the same movement over and over again. It's very important that your position that you get from your pedal will also have an effect on your circulation, on your flow, and on your posture. So if your pedal is too short, you're going to be always very low and you're going to squeeze your lungs. So make sure that you actually have that in mind, and you always keep your chest nice and open and breathe through every stroke to have a very good experience. So that was about pedal heights. I would pass to the next topic, which would be, in this case, the pedal stiffness. I actually just saw very quickly, one of the questions was that you changed from a 2018 Starboard to a 2021 and the board is dug out. If you need a little bit of I definitely think that if you cut your pedal a little bit shorter, being the board dug out, or maybe not as much as you stand closer to the water, but by chopping it a few centimeters from the top, you might have a better experience, because your shoulder will not be in that much pressure at every stroke and you're actually closer to the water. So I think that's not a bad idea to do, but definitely try it out. Maybe grab an adjustable pedal, try if you like it, if you're not liking it. And if once you have a good experience, just cut it there, stop it there, and go with that fits you better. Going to stiffnesses, I think 2021 it is a very, very interesting year, because Starboard offers a very wide range of stiffness that goes from S30 all the way up to S50. S50 being the softest and the most flexible shaft, and then going down to S45, S40, S35 and S30. The S30 is actually my signature model. I have created this pedal over the past couple of years because I really felt that the extra stiffness has helped me to create a more efficient and stronger stroke, and it built a stronger body for me and created a better competitor out of me. So I have been pushing really hard within the development to have a very stiff shaft, and in a little bit I will talk about specifically the stiffness that I have chosen, because it helped me to become a faster paddler, and I hope that it can do the same to you. But starting from the top of the range, so when you talk about stiffnesses, you have to know that most of people coming into the sport have to adapt their body to the equipment. And if you start with something very harsh, very rough, then you might hurt yourself or you might not have the best experience. So over the years, we have felt that playing with the stiffness of the shaft created a much more friendly experience. So For example, if you're coming out of an injury, or if you're new to the sport, or if in general you just don't want to have that much pressure on your arms and on your body at every stroke, then you might want to have a softer shaft, because it's going to bend at every stroke that you take, and that little kick that the shaft gives actually will create a bit more speed in your paddling, and you will really enjoy that kind of feeling. From a stiff shaft, what you can experience and what you can expect is just like a shovel. You throw it forward, and whatever it locks, and it's up to your body to make the board go in that direction. While a softer and a little bit softer shaft can really help you to use the elements in a nice symbiosis and have a nice and easy experience at every stroke. So S50 is something very soft. I usually consider that is a good paddle for girls, or eventually for people that are a little bit weaker in muscle structure, or kids that are really enjoying and coming new to the sport. I would say that if you're a touring paddler or a recreational paddler, probably you want a paddle shaft stiffness that goes in the 40 or 45 range, because it's going to help you to have a little bit more ease on your muscles in general. If you're a solid racer, I would advise you to have an S30 or an S35 kind of shaft, because on the long term it might help you to have a better performance overall. Don't get me wrong, it took me a couple of years to adapt as well. So once you go to a stiffer shaft, automatically you will feel that you have more tension on your body, and eventually your muscles will start to feel a little bit heavier over the same distance. So let's say you paddle with a certain frequency and a certain amount of time, 5 kilometers with an S40. If you do the same with an S35, after 4 kilometers you might start to feel that your muscles are burning a little bit more. In a couple of weeks, what can happen if you keep on using the same paddle, your muscles will get stronger and will become compatible with the shaft stiffness, and you're going to be express more power, and from there onwards eventually you can actually have a better time on that 5 kilometers if your muscle adapt to the stiffness of the shaft. And going on from at 35, then you can go to also 30 if you're really strong and you feel that your body is able to hold it together. Obviously, over the years I felt that the combination of blade with the shaft is also very important. For example, if you have a very soft shaft, you not necessarily want to put a very large blade on it, because it will create a very strong tension on the shaft itself, and it might curve it a lot more. On the other way around as well, if you have a very small blade, then the shaft stiffness is going to be less relevant, because the actual pressure that you can express through the blade is not going to affect the shaft that much. In general, my favorite combination is an S30 on an extra large, or an S30 and an extra large or large blade. I really like the S30 because it really gave me the possibility to finally be ultra competitive, and really feel that I'm not losing any power during the stroke when I step the water in front of me. I felt that in general, the more I went stiff, the more I could feel that all of my muscles are tensing against the pedal, and that compensated energy just made the board go a lot faster. It took some time to get used to it, but if you look at any kind of Olympic sport that is connected to paddling or canoeing, you will see that all the sprinters and all the paddlers and all the distance paddlers are using extra stiff shafts on their quiver, because it helps them to go faster, till the point that on race day they get an even stiffer shaft to go even faster. This is why, because on the athletic part we took the training to an extreme where we can actually get a better performance if these elements around us are very strong. Again, if you're new to the sport, you might want to have something a little bit softer. So for example, I know that many people and many competitors are actually very happy with an S40 and a large, or an S40 and a extra large, or an S40 and a medium combination. For example, My fiancée Sai, she loves the S40 on a large, and that's the pedal that I have here in my head at the moment. It's a piece of art really. All these pedals made in pre-packed carbon are the top of the line from Starboard, and they have been developed to be very durable, very light, and very beautiful. It's a unique piece of art that I really love to build, and anybody who has ever lifted this pedal just looked at me and says, wow, it's so light. It's a little bit over 400 grams with a pre-packed blade, a pre-packed shaft, and a carbon super handle. I would like you to bring you through this pedal step by step and explain why the Lima in 2021 has become the pedal to go to most of the competitions that I have ever done. So, this is the Lima 2021. Yeah, there you go. You can see that it has a very straight outline on the two sides of the blade and a quite square bottom catch. This shape is going to direct your pedal in the water and allow you to have a very direct and powerful catch because of this front part that goes in the water, and then a very direct power transition in the water without wobbling left and right, and just making sure that it's going through the water automatically in the right direction. The very parallel outline on the two sides are helping also to keep the pedal very close to the side of the board, so you will have a very direct direction given by the pedal motion itself. Besides the unique outline of the Lima, what is really important as well is what happens on the inside. As you can see here, on the power part of this blade, we actually created a scoop to have even more surface and have even more gripping power at every stroke. It works a little bit like a scoop, so you can imagine to just try to have a scoop of soup with a flat scoop or with something that has a little bit of shape. Imagine how much more you can stress power through this. It's also really important, the definition of this ridge that comes from almost flat and roundish to a more defined ridge system here towards the middle, that will help you to lock the pedal in the water during the stroke, so it's not going to make wobbly movements left and right. So at every stroke you have a very direct, powerful catch, and then from there these stabilizers really help you to keep the pedal stable and steady through the stroke. I love this pedal. I think this is one of the best pedals we have ever created, and I'm really happy with the outcome, with the performance, and all the feelings that I have had and all the feedback that came from all around the world. It's a really big step up from 2020. It's a must-have for every peddler, and I think the large with the S40 is the perfect combination if you're a newcomer to the sport, because it will have everything that a good pedal has to have. So about the stiffness, this is the S40, as you can see over here. So I would say it's the most balanced pedal that we have to offer in our range, and I think it's a good middle line for pretty much all sorts of distance pedaling. If you're touring on a lake, if you're paddling in the ocean, if you're paddling on a river, this would be your pedal to go if you want to have an incredible experience. One more thing to add up to this, and I think it's something important to talk about, is the super handle that we have created for 2021. It's also a big step up from 2020. You can see that it has a quite different shape, very flat on the top, a bit more triangle and softer, thinner here on the edges, with a tiny wave on the inside to have the right fitting for your fingers as well. Having a wider top, you really have the chance to have a solid grip and a very strong grip, yes, on this handle. It's really fitting well your palm, and you will feel that at every stroke you're able to just slide the pedal into the water and not really have to think about anything, because this pedal automatically, just by locking your hands down on it, creates a good flex in your arm that then is transited into good power transition into the stroke. So I would imagine that even if you're coming from other brands, you might want to have one of these handles on your pedal because it's so comfortable. Yeah, I've been pedaling with it for now 2 years, I think, through development and then racing, and didn't have any blisters, no injuries. I touched some wood over here. Whoop. And I really enjoyed just the grip that we have created with this new all carbon super handle attached to the S40 shaft, attached to an to a large blade. Yeah, this is, I stole a size pedal to be able to show it here for you. So yeah, this is one of my favorites. If I would go out, actually I went out snorkeling this morning here just to look at some wildlife and marine life just behind the corner, and I actually took this pedal with me instead of my racing pedal because I felt that I didn't really need that much of power and I didn't want to get my muscles too tired. But let's get into real business here. On the racing side of the things, if you're a real racer and you like to go fast and you like to train hard and you want to really step up your game and just feel that every time you take a stroke you're going faster and you have a bit more power in your hands, then you want to go on a stiffer shaft. And why a stiffer shaft? Because if your shaft is stiff and is not bending, then it means that it's not losing power. It means that at the stroke and at the catch, that amount of energy that you accumulate towards your blade is directly sent up into your body, and your body has to contrast it and make the board go forward. On the other hand, if you do the same thing with a softer shaft, while this shaft is bending, it's absorbing some of that energy that you put into the blade and then just automatically releasing it, so it kind of goes into a loss. While with a stiff shaft you don't have any loss, but you have a lot more muscle work to do. It's been 6 years that I've been competing professionally, and over the last 2 years I had the chance to use the S30. Before I was always on S35s, and that S35 was always combined with an extra large or an extra large blade. This is the same as it's happening right in this moment. So right in my hand I'm holding this 2021 Starboard S30 Daniel Hasulyo signature model, and this is a pedal that I'm extremely proud of because I've heard from many racers and many competitors that they're just absolutely stoked and blown away by how good this pedal feels in their hand. I have been trying different brands and different pedals over the last 2 years, and I felt that we needed something that can create a competition, something that can actually be better, something that will allow me to win races, and something that if I touch and I go and take stroke by stroke, I always love. And definitely with the 2021 Lima extra large and this S30 stiffness, I'm in my happy place. I really love the way it's not bending. I really love that I have a lot of power, a lot of control, and just a really solid pedal in my hand every time that I go out there. I definitely think that if you are a taller person, for example above 185, you might want to have a stiff shaft somewhere between S30 or S35 just because of your length and your height. But if you're a competitor and you actually have your muscle power in the right place, then you also might want to be using one of these pedals because it just really generates a much better performance and it makes you a better athlete. And yeah, in terms of technology, there is not much to say about it. It's made in the same pre-packed version as all our other carbon pedals, pre-packed carbon pedals. It just created in a way to be stiffer. The weight of the pedal is somewhere between 480 grams with handle, shaft and blade, which is incredibly light. I think it's the lightest on the market, and it's just really making an extraordinary experience every time that you go out there in the water. Something very important to notice though, for example, when Sven took this pedal on a test drive or a test pedal on the lake, he came back and he said, "Oh, I cannot use it because my shoulder is gonna hurt." So definitely an S30 stiffness is not something that you want to pedal with if you have a little bit weaker shoulders, or if you're just in general not willing to put that much effort into your strokes and you want to have a more laid back and easy experience. Definitely an S30 or an S35 is going to put a bigger toll on your muscles, and after a repeated amount of time you will start to get more tired. But if you transform that tiredness and all that work into solid training, and you work with it, and you get stronger, then eventually you will become a faster peddler. And that's how the stiffer shafts as an athlete can make your performance excel furthermore. But you need to put the work in there, or you need to be strong in general, and then you will enjoy this pedal a lot. Another thing that I think it's important to mention again is that other Olympic quivers as well in paddling have created very stiff shafts, and this stiff shaft is what really helps your muscle to flex in the right way to get the board going as fast as possible. So definitely, if you're doing some sprinting, or if you're willing to put a lot of work in, then the S30 is going to be the pedal that brings you to victory. In the meantime, I'm gonna let you guys see what's going on down here. There's a little distraction happening. Hello! Jasmine is coming to log in and tune in with us here. She's a big fan of this super handle too. I've been seeing that she really likes it, and I can only tell that these pedals are so light that she can actually lift them on the beach. What do you think? Which part is so special of this? Yes, I agree. You want a pedal like this. All of you, yes. Alright, we're gonna go back to some serious work. I think I'm gonna leave this pedal with Jasmine because she can just not get enough of it. Oh my god. So, yes, let's move this pedal a little bit further out from over here. So going back to what we were saying before. Sorry for the little interruption. Check this. Jasmine has been enjoying a lot out here at the boathouse. It's a very family-friendly location. It's made in a way where kids can really just enjoy easy surf and the outdoors at their best. Jasmine, for example, loves to explore the latest Starboard pre-pack paddle here on the outdoors in beautiful Phuket. Alright, let's go back to what we were saying before. Pedals and stiffnesses, and why I really like the stiff shaft. The stiff shaft helps me to be a faster paddler. That's it. If I do a full sprint with a stiff shaft, I never feel that I lose any power. It's always helping me to go full speed at every single stroke, but keep in mind that you need to train to use it. If you don't want to put that much work into it, or you actually prefer, especially for longer distance paddling, something that suits your body a little bit more, then you might want to have an S40 or an S45. I do know that many people, for example, doing ultra long distance paddling, such as the SUP 11 City Tour in Holland, they definitely love the S40 or the S45. Probably if you ask Bart as well, he would advise you an S40 shaft with a large or medium blade for those very, very long and tiring trips. Another thing that I feel it's important to mention is Starboard is not only offering fixed carbon shafts. So we have different constructions, and we have hybrid carbon constructions that are a little bit heavier but still very, very light, and a little bit more economical in certain senses. And besides the fixed shaft, we actually have adjustable shafts, either in 2-piece or 3 pieces. I love the 3-piece shafts for the transportability. I have some inflatable boards that are packed in some very small bags, and I love that I can have pretty much all the blades and all the shaft technologies mixed together in all sorts of constructions. So you could have a full carbon or a hybrid carbon pedal in 3 pieces, where your blade, your shaft, and the top of your shaft is actually all able to fit in a very tiny bag and just packed in a small space. If you're traveling around, that's definitely a go-to-go. In general, I also feel that if you're not sure what if you only have the chance to get one paddle and you want to use the same paddle for distance paddling, for surfing, and for touring, you definitely have to have an adjustable shaft. This would allow you to make the best out of every condition. Or, hey Akachai, how are you doing? Good to see you. So yeah, like depending on your experience, you have to choose the kind of quiver that you want to use. It's a bit like choosing your own bicycle. I know that I personally love carbon shafts and my race pedals for all kind of conditions because they're so light. They're made so well. They're really the top of the line, and they're just giving an amazing experience to everyone. At the same time, when I go with my inflatable board, I love an adjustable shaft because it's just compact. I can give it to my friends and everybody can enjoy the same benefits at the same time, no matter if you're tall or short. When we go on extreme expeditions, the 3-piece pedal is definitely a to-go thing to have because it's just so convenient and so compact when you pack it together. And from there onwards, the different shapes can be also, again, a big question. Besides the Lima, I think what is really important to talk about is also the Enduro pedal that has been an ongoing model for many years for Starboard, and it's a classic pedal shape. It's a teardrop, which is a bit triangle on the top and very round on the bottom, and it's an absolute powerhouse. I know that Ping just tuned in. Hi Ping, how is it in Bangkok? Here in Phuket is really nice. I know that you guys had some crazy storm in the past couple of days. That was here before. But going back to what we were talking about, the Enduro is, I know, Zane's favorite pedal. He's using it for everything. If you look at paddlers that are coming from outrigger canoeing or ocean paddling, from Vaz, they also had very similar paddling. So I know that Danny Ching as well loves that kind of shape, and people that are coming from power paddling and longer strong strokes, they really prefer that teardrop shape, and Starboard has an amazing pedal to offer. Compared to the Lima, the Enduro has 4 concaves on the top to secure stability through the stroke, and it has a little bit of a different angle. While the Lima is angled at 10 degrees, the Enduro is angled at 12 degrees to really secure a very stable power transition in the power phase of the stroke when the pedal is passing roughly 20 centimeters from your leg till your ankles. The Enduro makes it for all. So if you want to have a pedal that is good for surfing, good for touring, and it's good for all sorts of conditions, definitely you want to have an Enduro. While if you know that your major activity is more competing, training, racing, doing some distance paddling or sprints, then you want to have a Lima, because both of these pedals have been designed and created definitely for the best experience in their category. In the meantime, please guys, if you're watching from all around, let me know if you have other questions. I hear here that we are facing COVID in Bangkok. Yes, COVID has been putting a big toll on many people's life, ours as well. It's not an easy year, and we have to just look forward to all the experiences. I do know that this pause on traveling and on competitions really gave a big chance to nature to revive. Just to have an idea, we are down here at the boathouse in Kata Beach in Phuket, and this is usually one of the busiest beaches of the whole island, with thousands of people coming here from all around the world every day for snorkeling, for surfing, for spending time with their families. And after 30 years, this year, because there is no people on the beach, a turtle came back to lay its eggs on the beach, and this has been happening on many beaches in Thailand. And I feel that this same kind of happening here and it's happening all around the world. Not traveling allows us to give more space to nature and to recover a little bit. I think is not an absolute bad thing. At the same time, we can keep being active. There's amazing national races popping up all around the world, and yeah, just paddling brings us out to the world and to be really enjoying nature and just appreciating our surroundings more. I have another question here saying, any suggestions for choosing the first paddle? yes, I think when you go to choose your first pedal, it's very important to try a couple of different pedal lengths before you choose the right one. Eventually, you want to have an adjustable pedal. Go to a retail shop or to a sub center to try different options. Don't just see one pedal and buy one pedal from the picture, because that might not give you the best experience unless you know exactly what you want. You cannot go too wrong. If you take your height, you add 10-15 centimeters above, and then you go from there. But in general, I would always advise, if you're a first comer to pedaling, try a couple of options, try a couple of lengths, and really don't start with the stiffest pedal, because it might not give you the best experience. Start with something a little bit soft, and if you're training and your experience is good, then later you can come into a little bit stiffer shaft experience, for example. Same thing, I would advise, if you're not ginormous, and by ginormous I mean a person maybe above 190 and 100 kilos, you don't want to have a huge pedal to start with, because a big pedal is going to grab a lot of water and it's going to create a more heavy and difficult stroke. While if you have a little bit a lighter body construction, I would consider maybe myself, here's another question. It was said, what blade size, hey Pete from Australia, what blade size do you suggest for daily training, downwind and races up to 20 kilometers? I am 180 tall and 75 kilos. Pete, my suggestion for you would be an S35 and a large or an extra large blade. I personally do love the extra large blade. It's really my favorite pedal to go, but I do know that many paddlers and many professional racers are actually preferring the large, just because it's helping them to keep the frequency over time. So I think for daily training and downwind races up to 20 kilometers, if I was you, maybe I would choose an S35 and a large Lima. I hope that answered your question. I think an S35 and the large Lima will really take you to your happy place while you're out there in the water. Definitely, if you have the chance, try to order the pre-pack carbon, because the lightness and the whole construction is just really changing the experience you have out there in the water. Another question, would a carbon pedal but really fragile scratch or break? Does it matter if it's one piece or three piece? Depending how you use it. I have been bombing my pedals. This pedal here, it's a pre-pack carbon pedal. I've used it for the last 6 months. I've used it in Bali, I've used it in Thailand, I've used it for racing, I've used it for surfing, I used it for foiling. This is definitely not a traditional way of using the pedal, and I can show you here. Maybe yes, there is a few little couple of scratches, but that's just because I've been using it extremely in a different conditions and traveling all around. But I don't think you might be using the pedal with the same intensity that I have been putting this through, and this is still in very good conditions. I still have race pedals from 2017 that haven't break, and I just upgraded because I prefer the new shape of the blade. But definitely these carbon pedals are made to endure, so I think it's really hard to break them. Furthermore, I know, for example, if you want to use your pedal for foiling, we have a special pre-pack foil edition where the blade itself is reinforced with this extra layer of texture to make sure that even if you hit your foil, your pedal or your blade is not going to break. I think in general all our pedals are extremely durable and are extremely strong. Even the tough skin entry-level pedals, these are all made in a way that are really hard to break. So I would say that if it's a one piece or a three piece, I don't think these pedals are fragile. You can just make the best out of it. Definitely don't pass with the car over, or try not to drop it from the top of a house. maybe if you drop it from the top of a house it might survive. If you pass over with a car it will break, but in the water is not going to be really get damaged, so don't worry, these pedals are made to endure. Hello Frederick, I had your question also from before. I know that you're paddling an All-Star 14 by 24 and a half and a wide 0.810 when you're surfing. I definitely would choose two different pedals for the two different boards, also because of the pedal height. I definitely think that on an All-Star you might want to have a little bit of a longer pedal compared to when you're standing on a wide point. If I was you, and this is my goal to go as well, I'm using an Enduro large. I don't have it here with me because I didn't prepare to surf on this trip. I was more racing and doing distance trainings. So definitely when you surf on your wide point you might want to be using an Enduro, possibly cut at your height or a little bit shorter, while if you're doing distance races you want to be using a Lima, and I would cut it maybe like a fist and a thumb, a fist and a half thumb, or like somewhere there above your head. If you have only one pedal to choose on, or you just want to have one pedal, maybe you can have an adjustable option. I know that we make excellent carbon adjustable pedals or with mixed technologies, so depending on your budget and of how often you want to use it, you can choose the best thing that fits for you. But if I was you, I would definitely have a Lima, a little bit longer for distance racing, and a shorter Enduro for surfing to have the best experience. Other questions? I know Wilson Sub from Taiwan was asking if for sprint and surfing I would use a different length. I think that for sprinting and surfing you might be able to use the same length of pedal, but depending on the blade type that you use you might want to differentiate a little bit. I know, for example, from Connor lately he has been using a little bit larger blades for sprinting. I'm not sure if you would enjoy the same large blade surfing, but definitely between surfing and sprinting, a pedal that is cut around your same height will give you a good experience, so why not, you might be able to use it at the same thing. I think the biggest difference goes from sprinting to distance paddling, or from just really everyday paddle to race technique. Christian Pilborg, hi Christian, good to have you here with us. Here comes the question. Hi Daniel, how do you train to go from a smaller to a bigger blade? It's a tricky question. It's a good one. You just have to go for it. Definitely try to make sure to make sure that you don't get injured in a transition like that. Don't expect that you're going to be able to perform the exact same on your first training when you go from a smaller blade to a larger blade. In my experience, every time when I topped up and pushed a little bit further, harder the level of difficulty of my paddling equipment, and by that I mean I chose a larger blade or a stiffer shaft, I felt that on the first 1 kilometer I would feel invincible. I would feel so strong and so powerful, you know, like at every stroke you feel that your muscles are built for this, and it just goes really, really well. And then over the up, all of a sudden I would just start feeling that, all right, this was okay, but I actually don't have enough gas in my system to push that through for the whole thing. And I would start to feel a little bit sore, a little bit more tired in my muscle, somewhere around like 4 or 5 kilometers, let's say in an 8-kilometer session. And on the last kilometers I would really feel that my muscles are actually a lot more tired than before. Just keep on using it and start to go off with constant speed training. So you just like go out, you paddle the bit, and you make sure that your heart rate is not going to the sky either, so you're not stressing too much your body compared to the pedal, just to get used to it. So if you did a 10-kilometer pedal on a small blade and now you want to do a 10-kilometer pedal on a large blade, pay attention on your body, see when you start to feel more tired, which part of your body starts to feel more tired because of this, and just try to adapt according to how you feel. Definitely, if you're starting to feel a bit more tired, don't overforce yourself because you might pull your muscles. So just really give yourself some time and don't go back, because definitely once you step a little back, you're going to be like, this feels a lot easier, but then you just go back to what you were using before. So definitely to step up a little bit and to go a little bit harder requires a bit more training, but then overall it will translate into a better performance on a long term. And if you want to win races or become a better racer, you want to do that transition slowly, month by month, and just really get strong enough to hold a stiffer blade, a stiffer shaft, and a larger blade. I know we had another question here. I'll just turn the camera a little bit so that like you have in terms of food and nutrition, could you please share yours? Well, that's a very different topic. I try to, in a nutshell, what helped my paddling over the last years was a very natural approach to food. So just try to eat really less chemicals possible. So just eat easy food, clean food, lots of vegetables, not much meat, in an exaggerated way, not too much fish in an exaggerated way, just to have a balanced diet. And then just try to avoid all the processed food and all those E's and chemicals that are just not necessary to build a healthy body. How do we learn to paddle distance up to 20-30 kilometers really well and with an effective technique? Paddling 20 to 30 kilometers as an athlete requires definitely professional help. You can, if you want to do it on a competitive level, you can go out and paddle 20-30 kilometers in a recreational way, and that is the best way to start it. So definitely, if you want to start paddling 20-30 kilometers, you have to start paddling 20-30 kilometers. It's not going to become any shorter, or anyone else is going to paddle it instead of you. So the best way is to gather a group of friends and set your course on Google Maps or with different applications, and just set yourself a time limit as well, see the conditions, and just go for it. Prepare yourself, and if you have been constantly over a few months, be very comfortable paddling 20-30 kilometers during the weekends or a few times a week, then you really will start to feel which are the elements that require more attention to improve your performance. At 20-30 kilometers, I feel that the equipment is very important, and nutrition is very important, and the preparation and the training is also very important. So if you go to, for example, SEPA Strength and Endurance Performance Academy, our coaches are specialized in creating ultra long distance and distance training programs that will help you to paddle better 20 to 30 kilometers. We have been doing it for 6 years now with many medals and many great results, and I think we created a solid system that helped us to become better athletes, and I think that it will help you too. In general, if you want to do it by yourself, you want to look at the nutrition plan of some marathon runners, the nutrition plan of some triathletes, some of the preparation of these two, the ski walker people, are different endurance sports. What you have to consider is that 20-30 kilometers is going to take you a lot of time. It's you're depending on your pace, you might be paddling between 8.5 to 9.5, 10 kilometers an hour, and from there you know that your paddling time is going to be somewhere between 3 to 5 hours depending on how fast you go. Be ready for that. So like, to know how long you're going to be out there, when do you need to drink, how much you need to drink, when do you need to eat to not feel empty, and then how to keep the rhythm going. Definitely, if you go for a 30-kilometer paddle, don't start sprinting at the beginning. Know your distance, know the amount of time that you're going to spend with the activity, and from there build the amount of power that you put into your actions, so that you have the enough amount of energy to last till the end. I think that's the most important with distance paddling. Do you get any energy gels during long distance races, or only water with electrolytes? Over the past 2 years, I've been following the same program of my brother as well, and we have been using some gels and some electrolytes, mostly electrolytes in the water. But this is also a very interesting topic. When I'm home, for example, here in Thailand or in Bali, I prefer to put coconut water in my camel pack, because coconut water is natural at the end and it contains a lot of electrolytes. It has been a very, very nice refreshment during my paddlings. So when it comes to training home or for some longer paddlings, I really love to just charge myself with 2 bananas, coconut water in my backpack, and go out and paddle my distances. When it comes to heavy intervals, 2-3 hour intervals, very long paddles or competitions, I do use gels and electrolytes at the right time to make sure that my body doesn't burn out and I'm able to finish the competition with the same frequency and with the same power all the way till the end. But this is again something very personal. It took me a couple of years to get used to the gels, because previously we have been having a very nice chocolate sponsor from Bali called Chocolate, and he has been creating this very special energy bites covered with dark chocolate that we would eat during competitions, combined with coconut water. We just got to a point over the years where in heavy racing situations, the frequency that we are setting is closer to marathon runners, so we need a little bit of a different type of recharge. If you want to know, we are using the same gels and electrolytes that Eliud Kipchoge, possibly the world's best marathon runner, is using. Just check it out, Google Eliud Kipchoge marathon, and you will have a lot of nice information about what we're drinking there. If you have any other questions in the meantime, please let me know. So we talked about the Lima, we talked about the Enduro, we talked about why I do love this ultra stiff pedal. I would advise you to use pedals and to try different pedals before you choose your own. Definitely, if you have a chance, just grab a couple of pedals, feel them, feel the difference, see if you like a round handle, a flat handle, an oval shaft, a stiff shaft, a round shaft. There's all sorts of different things, and it's all made to make your experience better. And why? Because the pedal is a very important part of your quiver. So if you want to have a good experience, and if you want to go stand-up paddling, I think that the number one thing to do is grab a good pedal, because from there onwards you can be on any board as long as your pedal is good and you will have a good experience. You can have an amazing board but a horrible pedal and you will not have a good experience, because it's just a pain to lift, to touch, to move something so many times and not have the comfort that you're looking for. It's just like wearing very amazing shoes or not good shoes. You want to wear good shoes when you're going to trek. I think maybe that's the best example. If you're gonna go to a beautiful place trekking, if you have bad shoes, you're gonna have a bad experience. If you go to a beautiful place trekking and you have amazing shoes, you're going to have a very good experience. The same thing happens with paddling. You wanna have a good pedal, because that will define the experience that you will have out there in the water. If you have any other questions, please let me know. I will wait a little bit longer and then we will wrap it up, because the sun is also setting. It's been very good to be here in Thailand, and it's been really good to see how the sport has been developing. A lot of people are actually choosing their first paddle these days because there's just hundreds of newcomers to the sport, and to be able to be part of it, even if there's less competitions at the moment, it's a very heartwarming feeling. Rather than yeah, like trainings and all the work that has been going on with the national team as well, and with the Thai Surfing Federation, we have been developing a lot of new boards here in Thailand with Trevor, Ollie on the phone in Portugal, Swan and the workshop. So the work has not stopped. We have been ongoingly pushing out a lot of new amazing toys to make your experience better and to make the race boards going even faster, and we just cannot wait to be out there in the water and just really go for another round of races and tours around the world. Hopefully the first really big race of the year is going to be happening in September, so till then we will have some more time to train and just be ready. And yeah, overall I just cannot wait to be out there in the water almost every day and just do what I love, and I hope that you can do the same. If you guys at the moment have no more questions coming in, I would like to thank you all for your attention. I hope you had a good time here with me. I hope you had a lot of explanation that is going to be useful, that you can take home with you. In general, just wrapping it up, if you're sprinting or surfing, cut your paddle a little bit shorter or at the same height of your head. If you're going for distance paddling, a fist and the thumb, it's a good option. You can choose your personal preference. If you're absolutely cruising, you might want to go a full shaka and a little bit above just to have a more upright position. In terms of constructions, depending on your budget, definitely there is different options out there, but if you have the possibility, I would advise you to spend a little bit more and go for the full carbon options, because the lightness of the paddle really gives you a much better experience. In terms of constructions of adjustable or three pieces, I think it's really coming down to the question of convenience. For me as a racer, I love my pedals fixed, but if it's coming down to friends, I love to have an adjustable pedal with me just because I can give the right experience to everyone. If it comes to very intense traveling, the three-piece pedal just makes life easier. You put everything in a backpack and you're good to go. So really, can you not go wrong there? Going to the two constructions that we have with the two shapes that we have at Starboard, the Lima is definitely the board, the blade that you want to have for racing and for distance paddling. It has been designed and created by the best paddlers of the world, so it's really a top of the notch race machine. It's made to perform, it's made to win. Is the paddle that you want. If you want to have more adventures, surfing, and just an all-around paddle that takes you anywhere, go for the Enduro. You cannot go wrong. That paddle has been on and developed over the years, and it's a shape that it's a classic. It's the paddle that you want to have when you go out on the water and you're not racing. So I think that's a wrap. It's been very good to have you all. Thank you very much for the attention. I've seen people coming from Australia, Israel, the other side of the world, South Africa, Italy, Hungary, Asia. I don't know, like we had a very international audience. Thank you so much for all the support. Thank you so much for all the attention. Thank you Boat House Phuket for hosting and giving such a beautiful background to us for today's paddle class, and thank you Starboard for making the best equipment on the market. See you soon. That was a wrap. Live the Tiki life and see you in the water.